I can't believe I remember that. Perfect. Okay, so we are going to move into stories now. And we're going to do a little bit longer segments than regular power hour so that we can go over and then everyone can come off and ask questions, because I know we've gone over this before, but I want to make sure everyone understands stories because they really, really work. And for some people, it's an untapped part of your business, right? So we want to make sure our stories are really, really simple. And if you know how to do stories, because I've trained before, you can start by building a new story. But I'm going to show a few examples of what I consider a good story. So I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm going to show you what I think is a good story versus a good just regular timeline post. Okay. So here are some examples of it's coming up. These are some good examples of stories right now. Okay, so these are successful stories. They get a lot of viewership. One thing we found is that stories are a really good place to show people's skin in their transformations. Much better viewership than groups. So you'll get hundreds. I've had over 1,000 before, of course. So, and it creates a lot more viewership. So the best part of stories and the way to make a story successful is by having the picture up at the top, because then it doesn't, words aren't cut off by your name. And then you have the wording below. And then I use these stickers, which you'll see right here. So I use the heart, which is when they hit it, it's like a sticker and it's active. So it'll throw out some hearts. The fire one will throw out just smaller versions of that. So it's really, really nice. And these are stories that are done really, really well. So they're simple and to the point. It catches their eye with showing the skin. Now, if you are nervous about showing people's skin, that, it's only on your stories, it's only up for 24 hours, but it's something that people can relate with differently than they can relate with on your timeline. So some people might not comment on this or message you because they, if it was on your timeline, but when it's on stories, it goes right to your, whether they hit the fire, they hit a heart or like, or it goes right to your messenger, and you can start and build conversation right from there. So here are some examples. Like I said, I moved the fire around, I moved the wording around, but you can see I'm keeping the picture up at the top because that's what works. So then the words are not cut off, people can see it. And I keep simple wording, okay? I usually like to use their name, their pounds and their days, and then just a little positive, like he did amazing. But also, if you can already see they've lost weight in a way, if you just had something positive and point out something like, oh, Stephen has an increase in energy, they're sleeping better. One type of like NSV, better with able to move around with their grandkids. Things like that are really, really catchy to people. You don't want to do all of that at once, right? But one of those things really help grab and people can relate with that for sure. So I'll stop sharing for 1 second and answer a question and then come back to this. Go ahead, Chelsea. You're muted.
Okay. Last time you talked about stories, you showed how you moved the picture up to the top of the screen. Would you please re-show that? And also, how did you get all of your wording down at the bottom without it getting put in the trash can?
So the tip is you always have to use 2 fingers on the picture, the wording, and everything you have to use 2 fingers because otherwise it'll throw it away. So
Okay,
you definitely need
2
the 2 fingers.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm sorry, what does the 2 fingers mean?
You'll hold down on the picture or the wording with 2 fingers. And that way you can move it up and down, shrink it, make it bigger. So whatever 2 fingers you use, I use these 2 fingers.
Thank
and
you.
move it around. Yes, I can demonstrate. So give me one second. Okay. So I'm gonna go, I'll show Diane and Bill, Diana. You wanna come on?
Yes, thank you, Spencer.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering if the same requirements go for posting a side-by-side on stories as it does on our timeline, with the no longer being allowed to put the 30 pounds in 30 days or reduced inflammation, those kinds of things. Does it matter because it's a story and disappears in 24 hours? Or can compliance flag us on those things if it's in a story as opposed to timeline?
Leslie, do you want to answer this?
You still want to do the same thing, you guys, but however, like you said, Diana, like it's only on there for 24 hours. So unless they see it in your 24-hour window and flag it, because it goes away, it's a little bit more lenient, but you still should follow the rules of that. So like the one Spencer showed, 30 pounds in 30 pounds in 3 months or whatever it was. If it has the correct disclaimer, that's okay. But like you said, Diana, the inflammation or been keeping it off for 7 years, those ones you have to still be careful. But again, the worst that happens, let's say they do flag it, you can just delete it, like take it out away from your story. Like even if it's been up like 12 hours, you can delete it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna show how I build my stories, just because I feel like that's how. So I'm gonna go back to my menu, and I have in my files all these ones I've built collections, and I think the next Power Hour they're gonna go over how to build collections for those of you that haven't built them yet. So a simple one, I really like this one. So it already has the weight in this post, so I just hold it down and I'll save the photo, and then I'll also copy the wording up here, because it's simple wording and people will relate with this, right? And then I go back to my profile and I hit create story. I'll hit this picture. And then I use the 2 fingers, like I said, to move it up, right? So I want it to be in that it's visible enough, but it leaves enough space at the bottom. And then I'll click up at the top right that says add text, and I'll paste that wording. And then I like different colors. So since she's in red, red's a pop of color. Again, using the 2 fingers. This way it does not go to trash. So just hold it down. I'm holding it down with my 2 fingers. And then the top right hand corner, there's the little like smiley sticker box. And I scroll up, and this heart here and the fire, I always pretty much use the fire. It's like my staple. So then when they hit the fire, it goes like that. And people like hitting that. And that's just another thing that helps when I go to work my stories, right? Now is actually a great time to post stories. I think I saw that in the comments. When is the best time? Between like 8 and 10 in the morning, and then like after 8 p.m. I find 7:30, 8 o'clock p.m. are great times to post. And then at the bottom, you just press share to story and it'll pop up on your story. Simple as that. Now, the other thing is, because I know this has been a question before about music on stories, we find that music can, in a sense, like I look at it as a time suck, because you could sit there and play songs for 10 minutes or whatever to find the right song. It does sometimes help your story stay up longer, but if people don't want to see your story, they've already swiped, so it really doesn't help in that aspect. But it's obviously up to you if you choose to add music to your story. But I don't find that it's actually beneficial. But again, it's up to you. It's your decision. The other great thing to post on stories is personal life stuff, but keep it simple and only post 1 story a day per 24 hours. Because what happens is you build all this content and then you're throwing it away because people, like, you may get 100 views on your first story, then you get 80 views on the second, and then you just keep going down from there. And that's just wasted content. So instead of posting everything at once, save it and post it over the course of time. You know, we can build our content library and then use it when we feel it's necessary and great to use, right? So for those of you at convention, you have a lot of pictures with people. You can use those in your stories if you feel like it, or of course on your timeline. Adventures you did at convention. Like I went to the aquarium with the team and took a lot of pictures and video. That's not all going up at one time. Spread it out, right? And keep it simple, like I've said, and sometimes just throw up a video or a picture. I did it last week and it was good. Like it was a video from the aquarium. So one thing I learned from Wayne Hudson was he showed just a video or a picture with no wording, nothing. And it really, like, people were asking questions about it. So that works too. It doesn't get as great viewership as transformations with skin, but it still does well and it can still start conversation.
Hey,
Robbie?
Spencer,
Oh.
real quick before you take questions and answer stuff, I just want to reiterate what Spencer said, just because, especially for those of you that are new, or if you're not new and you've been doing it a certain way and now he's telling you a different. So Ryan and I were always building stories. We would always do like 3 or 5 stories in a story. So we would have a whole bunch going on. And one time Spencer said to us, oh, I got like 700 views on my story, 900 views on my story. And we're like, what were you doing? This was 2 years ago. And then the biggest thing he told us was, do one story at a time. So don't do 4 stories running. One story every 24 hours garners a lot more attention. So I just wanted to just simple that down a little bit, because I do see people doing stories where they have like 5 in a row. So I just wanted to add.
Okay, that's perfect. Robbie?
How often do you put up a quote unquote skin picture?
So I do it, that's a great question. So I do it a few times a week, maybe 3, max 4. I don't like to do it every day, because then it just gets old and people will stop clicking on your story, right? And it slows down. So I like to build up to it. Sometimes I usually take a day off a week of not putting things on my story. And then I'll just put other things like we talked about, like pictures or videos, but still just one story a day. And then I mix the skin stories into that. So
Do you ever throw up like a image of one of the recipes as a draw? Do you find that works for you or no?
I've done the recipes before. You can put in like the thing like add a heart if you want the recipe. Some coaches I know are able to build the stories and put the picture of the recipe and the recipe below. It just depends on what you want to do. But yeah, recipes are great too, because people love recipes.
I've been putting the image up and then putting wording that says find on timeline if you want the recipe, something like that, to drive them back to the timeline. Do you think that that's not helpful? I mean, what's your thoughts there?
I would prefer to take it to Messenger to message them the recipe versus asking them to go to your timeline to look for it. Because if you obviously kept posting, it's great for them to see your profile, but it's also, they may not want to do that work.
Okay, thank you.
That's just my opinion. Larry?
Yeah, I see a lot of comments about Androids and about the 2-finger problem with that. So I just want to, since I'm an Android guy, I just want to show. So I just created this story, and what you have to do on the Android is you have to click on the picture first, and then you can move it. You just tap it once, and then you can move it just like Spencer showed us. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. That's,
yep.
Yeah. Cindy?
Yeah, so the guideline of doing like 3 posts a day, so I've been doing that with a side-by-side, a recipe, and then something personal. And I do it like at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or later at night. I do my side-by-side at night. But I was doing all three in the story. So you're saying just do one and then do the other ones in my timeline? I was doing like in both. So,
No, the stories are something separate. So you still do your positive post in the morning, your recipe at lunch, and your regular transformation after. But the stories are just like an extra part that does not affect your timeline. So like I said, I do stories at different times, but that does not count to your 3 posts you should do a day plus your personal post. So
within the timeline. Okay, so on the story, alternate between, because like I'll put an inspirational, always do side by side on the story.
Oh, no. Oh, on the story, yeah, you can alternate between things you put on stories, but I find that the skin transformations are the best to put on stories, and then just like some personal stuff, but still stick with your regular post a day on your timeline, and then do this as like an addition when you feel like it. It's not, it's beneficial. So.
Okay.
Hey, Spencer, can I make one
Yes.
suggestion?
Yes.
So, part of Power Hour, we scrub our timeline. And some time ago, when I was scrubbing my timeline, I saw there were like no hits at all on a before and after that I had done in the evening on my timeline. And so just randomly, I just took it and I stuck it in the story. Same exact thing. I posted that before and after, but nobody saw it or nobody liked it. And I got like 50 likes on that story, or hearts or whatever. So I just saying it because sometimes we think like nobody's seeing my content, what the heck? And of course it's algorithms. So, if you're like, I don't have enough content, maybe that's something you try sometime if you see something that didn't get a bump and it's a different way to give it some life.
Diane, that's an amazing tip, because I've actually done that before. Because, I think we all go through waves in our Facebook and with their algorithms. And so you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm only getting 2 likes on my story, or on my post, or I'm getting 0 likes or 0 comments, whatever. Throw it up on the stories, and especially like with the skin stories too. I feel like that's where you see that all this work you're doing with A to Z commenting and scrubbing your stuff, that's all working because you have people that are active. So it's like, in a sense, I feel like it's reassuring, because then like this whole thing that you're working is working. People reach out differently from stories because they feel like they're not admitting like, oh, I need your program or whatever. It's like a different like safety net that they have in stories. Because if they really like someone's transformation and they connect with that, then that's perfect. And only me and that person that reaches out knows that they feel that way, versus my whole Facebook seeing them go, that person looks amazing. What are you doing? Right.
Hey, Spencer and Diane, I wanted to just add something really quick with what Diane shared. So I do this a lot. Like if I do the sugar shot or a side by side of myself, and like exactly like Diane said, it doesn't garner interest. Like maybe 5 days later, I will literally throw it in my story, just like Diane said. And it's amazing how much more likes I'll get, more interaction. It just hits your timeline differently. So the other real quick thing for anyone that's like, how do I do story? Where do I go? Like, you guys got to start, especially newer coaches, or I go to other people's timelines and like, I don't want to use the word steal, but I steal their content all the time. Like, so Michelle, my coach, and I, we know so many of the same people. So if I take something from her, I'll use it a month later, or I'll go back on her timeline like a month or 2 months ago, or on Kathy like 2 months ago, take something and use it. Same, like if I want to just see, like I'll go to Spencer's stories all the time just to see like ideas and stuff that I might not have thought of. So yeah, Joe, thank you. Thank you for giving me a better word. Repurpose is a better word than steal, but like you can repurpose your own content all the time. The biggest thing, like I know Wayne and Mandy aren't on today. They're at a wedding, I believe. But the biggest thing Wayne always says on here is keep it simple and don't overthink and don't use so much time on this stuff. Janine wrote one thing in the comment. I'm not sure I'm going here. I'm just with all the likes you get on your story, you can do the same thing we do scrubbing our timeline of the likes. You can go to the likes and go to their timeline on the likes, and also, go, put comments on their stuff. So likes on the stories are really something, and we can go in depth more on that another time because other people have questions, but I just want to reiterate that.
Yeah. Emily?
So this is more of just a comment because I put in the chat that sometimes in terms of recipes, I use polling instead of saying go to my timeline, because then it takes it directly to a response. So I don't know if it would be easier for you to demonstrate how to put a poll or where to find it, but it's under the it's under the sticker option. And what
Yeah.
I typically do is if I post a chicken recipe, I'll say something like, the question is, would you like this recipe? And one of the answers says yes. And the other one, instead of saying no, because nobody's going to push the no, you say something like another chicken recipe or another taco recipe. And then you can garner conversation for what other kind of recipe do you want, and that really starts the conversation going. In fact, I had somebody yesterday, she said, you gave me the recipe and I don't know what I did with it. Can you send it to me again? So we started a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. I love that. So I'm going to show the polls because I've used polls before. I don't use them all the time, but I've used them with transformations, asking a question like, are you ready to get healthy? Not like that exact question, but something on those lines. Like, are you next? And then it says like, yes. And then like, absolutely, or whatever. So I'm going to share screen one more time. So when you're in your regular Facebook, at the top, you'll click, hold on, is my screen share? Okay. So you click create story. Now I saved a recipe, a picture. This looks really, really good. So it's a little big. So I'll do the 2 fingers, move it up top. So I have room at the bottom, right? And then in the top right corner, stickers, and there's a poll right here. So then you can ask the question like, whatever you want to ask. So like, do you want this recipe? Right? And then you can say yes, and then say like, and like they're giving you yes and no, but you can type in whatever you want and then say absolutely. And then I just press done. And then again, with your 2 fingers, move it down here. Right? And then this way, when they click on it, it's not going to work right now, but then this way it'll show like one side depending on how they vote, but it takes it to your list. So when you view the story, it'll see who said yes, who said absolutely. And then some people will just comment whatever they want. So that's a really good tip. Thank you, Emily, for bringing up polls, because I feel like those are underutilized as well.
Hey, Spencer, I just want to give a quick tip, not about story. Well, it's related to that. When you do something like that, Spencer, did you see what he did? He didn't say yes or no. He said yes or absolutely. He's not giving them a choice to say no on the poll, which is brilliant. So catch that. Okay. The other thing you can do with this, take this a little further. If you're bold, some of you are very bold and you will, and some of you might be scared, but I'm going to give the tip. If they say yes, they would love that recipe, you send it over to them. And then I will also add a sentence saying, I share these we are part of a bigger group. We share healthy recipes and tips for getting healthy in a private group. If you ever want more, more information, I can talk to you and then add you to the group. It's kind of bold, but you can do that because, you don't just always have to have somebody reach out and then you do the health assessment. If they're asking for, because in the private group, the Optimal Life group, if in the Optimal Life group, we do share tips, we do share recipes, we do share transformation. And even if they never want to do our program, getting them in the group, the whole goal is we're not selling anyone on anything, but the more people we get in the group, they see the magic, eventually they're going to do the program. Or maybe they're not, but they get healthy anyway. And isn't that what we're truly about? So I always think, where can I take this one more step further? So with recipes, one more step further. So I just wanted to share that's what I do.
Hey, Leslie, will you say that again? That was really good. And then I turned on transcription. so
Yeah,
I-
thanks, Laura. Thanks for, I forget about all of these extra things because I don't usually record. When I'm doing, whether it's a recipe in a story or a recipe on my page and people, where I don't put the actual recipe, I just do the picture, or I just put a picture of like something I'm eating that's a recipe, and then people are asking for it, or I ask people to ask for it. After they say, like, I'll usually say, let me know when you try it. And then I'll put like, also FYI, I am in a bigger group on Facebook. It's a private group. And I will say this, it's based on the program I lost weight on, but it's also for anybody that likes health, wants to make healthier choices. If you want to talk for a few minutes, I can't just add you till we talk, but once we have a quick conversation, I can put you in the group. And then they can stay in the group as long as they're not doing anything, obnoxious or whatever. So it's a good way to get people to Optimal Life. The whole goal of when you're interacting and talking to people and all that, get them to Optimal Life. So we don't have to sell. Optimal Life will. I know people that are talking to people, lots of health assessments going on the last, obviously week. And a lot of people have type 2 diabetes and they're saying no to the program right now. I personally think it's crazy, but get them in the group and tell them once they're in the group to do a search for A1C. It'll blow their mind. Okay, Spencer, I didn't mean to, but it was just such a good opportunity with that poll. So
Yes, no, absolutely. That's a really good thing. Everyone should use that for sure.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yes.
When you did the poll for the yes and no, how did you change the responses?
When you tap on it, like the Facebook has already said yes or no. So I guess if you don't edit anything, it would go that way. But you just tap on the word yes and then tap on the word no and put in the wording that you want.
It does
thank
give
you.
you, it gives you a little bit of a character limit. I think you might have like 20 characters in the space. So you may have to play with your wording a little bit, but you can put in more than 3 words.
Yeah, that's great.
Spencer, would you
Well-
mind, you're pulling pictures that are saved? Would you mind taking it back from like the beginning, like this is my Facebook page, this is where I pull it from a save to put it on story? Would you mind taking it back a couple steps, please?
Do you want to see where like the ones I consider stories versus timeline? Is that what you're saying?
So like you were like doing the recipe and you went to stories and that picture of the recipe was already in your story. Can you show how you moved it from a saved item and put it into your story? That's what I'm having to do. Yeah, thank you.
No, you're good. You're good. Let me pull this out. Okay. So when I go to menu and I go under my collections, I have my different things that I've saved, right? So let's just say it is under stories. You'll click on the person, click on this. Now this is again for iPhones, and then you just with one finger hold down on it and press save photo at the top. You can copy photo, but then I like to copy the words. So I just save the photo. And then I go home, bottom left, at the top, press create story. And then the picture, it's still loading, but here's the one picture. It's the same picture. So that's it right there. And then that's when you can move it up and down. And then
But did
create
you
your
have
story.
to edit it to get Joe's name since you pulled it from his page?
No,
How did this
no,
go? Because before it said from Joe's page.
correct. So I pulled it as a story that Joe posted on his timeline. So that's why I clicked on it and saved the photo. And then I'll come back out here and hold down and copy the wording. So then I have it ready to go to build the story.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Spencer.
Can I ask you a question? Oh, sorry.
Wait 1 second, Sibylla. it'll be Spencer, show that even though this is not just a story thing, show again, like tell them exactly what you're doing to save that picture without Joe's name on it. Cause that confused me for the longest time. Like I was always screenshotting the picture, cropping the picture, and then maybe Joe or Kathy, somebody showed me to hold it down, and it was a game changer for me. So can you just share that too?
Yeah, let me make sure am I pinned?
Let me
Or am I spotlighted?
know what, Spence, do stop sharing and then just hold your phone up to show that one.
Okay.
I think it'll help better. And
Yeah,
then
that's fine.
make sure you're spotlighted still. Yeah, you're still spotlighted.
Okay, so let me just go. Okay, so right here when I'm viewing someone's post, right? And it happens to be Joe. So I'm clicking, I tap on the picture, I hold it down. Yeah, and then at the top, you can see it says save photo. This is on iPhone. And then I just tap on save photo. So it saves it to my library. And then in like 10 seconds, it'll be available to, it'll add and then it'll be ready to go.
And
then
literally
all I
he's
do-
saving the photo and it won't have anything else in it, just the photo. And that was a
Correct.
game changer for me. Yeah.
And then up here on the wording, it's sort of hard to see, but I just hold my finger and it selects all the wording that Joe used in the transformation. And I just press copy, the black thing that says copy. And then that's when I go to stories. And when I go to create the story, right, I already have the picture because it was the last one I saved. So that's there. I move that up, and then up in the top right, it says text, right? And for some reason, so I do a space. And then I just tap where the little dot is. It's not working. I just tap that and it'll say, do you see what it says paste? And that's how I paste the wording. Okay. And then you can edit, you can up at the top, you can change the color, you can change how the wording's shown. And that's something you can play around with, but I like the wording to be bold, have a full color background, not half color, and not just see through. So it pops.
Hey, Spencer, one real quick question. So I have a
Yeah.
story that's running out in 4 hours. So then should I wait to 8 p.m. tonight to put up some other story?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't want to overlap the story. It's fine to take a break from having a story up. I haven't found that it's not harmful to let a story run out and then wait a little bit. You want to make sure that more people are on your Facebook at that time, so then they will click because you want the viewership.
Okay, I have a question. When you do the poll, I'm going back to the poll, and you have the yes to Sibley, the yes or no, whatever. How do you put the answer? Where do you put the answer to the click? If they click yes.
Yeah, where it says yes and no, you tap on the word yes and edit that side, and then you tap the word no and edit that side, and then you just press done, and it'll
So wait,
set
I don't
your
want to.
poll.
I don't mean I want to change whether it says yes or no. I want to know when the person taps it, where does it take them? How do you change that? Is that there?
Oh, once you add the story, yeah, then it'll start the poll. So let's say more people hit yes, then that side will be a higher percentage. But
Well, how
when
do
you
I
go to
put the answer? Where's the answer? They press yes and it takes them somewhere.
Oh.
If you want the recipe, yes, they click yes. Then what happens?
it takes them to Messenger. You'll see it in your Messenger saying that whatever Sibley voted in my poll, yes. And then that's when you can send a recipe in Messenger. So
okay.
yeah, no, sorry, I didn't say
Okay,
that.
I get it.